Leon Todd for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday Tone Tip. On today's video, I want to showcase 4 of my favorite Marshall style amp models in the Fractal ecosystem that you may have overlooked. And this is because unlike models of the Friedman, Bogner, or Cameron amps that are based on real-world amplifiers, which themselves are derived from Marshall designs, these particular amp models in here don't have any real-world counterpart. Essentially, they've been created from scratch in the digital domain, chasing specific tones. And what I really like about all of these is because we don't have those real-world examples that we're tethered to, we can just get on with the process of dialing in awesome sounds. And we're going to do that starting off with this Charles Chillier Bell Aurora, a fantastic guitar, 2 Blue Murder humbucking pickups in it. I'm on the bridge pickup at the moment. And we're going to start with the Brit 800 Mod amp model. Now, for me, this is probably the amp model that I've done the most gigs with over the last year. I'm currently in Sydney playing a season of Club Cabaret, and this is the main amp that I use for that particular show. We're onto about show 48 on this particular season, and I just love the way this sounds, both at the stock settings and where I've dialed it in for the show. So we'll hear the stock settings first, and then basically bass, middle, and treble to about 7, presence, gain, and master volume to taste. I'm using my free LTTV Mix 7 cab IR and a touch of the large room at stock settings. Let's hear it. So essentially this amp model has taken the existing Brit 800 amp model, which is based on a Marshall JCM 800 2203 or 2204, and added an extra gain stage, which is a very popular mod to do on the real amps, but it's done it here in Fractal world. I just love that extra girth and stickiness you get out of this amp model. I also love the stock Brit 800 models in there, but this one just has that extra little bit of grease on there that I'm particularly fond of. So that's basically a modded JCM 800. The next model that I want to show you is the Brit Brown. This is another idealized amp model, essentially based on a Jose Arredondo modded plexi. So basically all the famous plexi mods rolled into one and fine-tuned. This one, setting up like you would a plexi, turn the bass down a bit, middle and treble up. This one is amazing straight out of the box. So basically an instant Brown sound kind of vibe there. There is also the FAS Brown, which is a custom Fractal model. Again, just designed to get to that Brown sound as quickly as possible. I'd highly encourage you to try that one out. But next, we're going to hear the FAS Hot Rod. So many popular amps, Friedmans, Bogners, Camerons, there's dozens of other companies doing the modded Marshall thing. They all have their own character. The designers basically voice the amps in a way that they find desirable. The FAS Hot Rod essentially is Fractal Audio doing that with that particular type of sound. So just kind of custom voicing a modded Marshall style sound. This one, I'd highly encourage you to put it side by side with the amps that I mentioned earlier, but it's got its own thing going on. It's a lot smoother than the two amp models we heard previously in the video. It's got a really nice rich low end, so you don't need a lot of bass or depth on there to get a lot out of this. And I'd highly encourage you to experiment with where you set the master volume. If you want more of a modern high gain thing, set the master low. If you want more of a kind of vintage 70s or 80s tone out of it, crank the master up above 5. I quite like it low, and this one takes a preamp boost really, really well. So we will hear it where it is, and then we'll hear it with the CC boost. So check this out. The thing that I like about this amp model is you can still hear it's got that characteristic Marshall style DNA. There's this fizz in the upper mid-range that on its own can maybe be construed as being a bit harsh, but in a mix really brings things to life. So it's all about having that core character and not taking too much of it away. The last one we'll take a look at is the FAS Crunch, another custom model, and this one is kind of like a fusion between a Marshall style crunch tone and a boogie style crunch tone on here. This one with this particular guitar I find really bright, so I've backed the treble and presence off a little bit. Again, experiment with where the master is set. For now I'm just going to crank the master up and kind of push it into that glorious power amp style distortion. I like to keep the gain low on this one as well. If you're using a really bright guitar, you can turn the bright switch off. That's just a great kind of medium gain crunch on there. Lots of AC/DC style character in there without too much work. There's also a bunch of other custom models in the FAS amps if you want pristine cleans, if you want super tight modern high gain sounds. I have done some previous Tuesday Tone Tips talking about amps like the FAS Modern on there, which I love the sound of. One thing about these custom amp models in here that I really like is you kind of get a best of both worlds thing happening where you get the core character that you're chasing, but it's generally a little easier to dial in because these designs don't have some of the design flaws of the original amplifiers in there. And you know, when I'm working on a Fractal, one thing that I just really love is how quickly I can achieve the tone that I have in my head. And if you're into the Marshall thing and you've tried some of the other Marshall specific or maybe Marshall derivative models in there, like I said, whether it's the Marshall models, like all the different Plexis and Brit models in there, or the Friedmans, Bogners, Camerons, I think you owe it to yourself to try some of the amp models that I outlined here. They can sound amazing with so many different styles in there. I've obviously gravitated to more of a kind of greasy rock thing in here, but I would love it if you want to check them out and let me know in the comments section below. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments section below. Check the description for my free IR and my blocks, and I will see you all on the next Tuesday Tone Tip. Take it easy.